NPR is reporting about a storm brewing over the way the US provides global food aid. And some in the shipping industry and agricultural sector want the US to respond to humanitarian disasters by purchasing the food in the US and then putting it on cargo ships and then sailing it off to the country in need. I'm just going to pause a second to just like process it. What a long process it is to get food to
Up to three
someone.
months. Yep.
Oh my God. And then humanitarian groups, including the Borgen Project, don't like this approach, obviously, because it's less efficient, takes
Right.
longer to reach people who are starving, and helps fewer people than if the food were purchased closer to the crisis. The Borgen
Yeah.
Project has done hundreds of meetings with members of Congress on this topic with quite a bit of success. And how concerned are you on this, Clint? Because it just sounds ridiculous. Like, again, where's the
Yeah.
logic in this whole thing?
This is like the boomerang that we think we made progress and then it comes back every farm bill. Like so
Because there is new
um
one in the making, right?
yeah,
There,
exactly. This
yeah,
year they're doing the
yeah.
new farm bill, which gets into some of this. So the program started out as a brilliant idea back in like the 50s where the US had a surplus of food. We had more food than we needed. There was starvation going on around the world. So we put it on. So the idea was the government, US government would buy it from US farmers, put it on ships and send it to some of these countries in need. So not a bad idea. There's definitely a makes sense, right? Fast forward though, now that we're in the year 2024 and we are responding to some of these disasters, and that process has a lot of cost involved. You're buying it in the US where it's more expensive. You're putting on cargo ships, these US preference cargo ships that aren't terribly competitive in how the pricing, but long story short, it also takes a long time to get there. So we are the only wealthy nation that still does it this way. All other countries, what they do is when they want to provide direct food assistance, so say we're providing food assistance to Ethiopia, you would buy it closer to the need. So you could either buy it from farmers in Ethiopia or neighboring countries and then provide the direct aid there. That way you get it there in a matter of like days. You're just kind of quickly getting funding to those that need it, and then typically goes to the groups on the ground that are effective and have contracts or grants with the USAID, and then they would be able to provide the food aid. So that's the fast, efficient way, right? That way also helps millions of more people. So the current some of the special interests are pushing for is they want all the food aid to come from the U.S., which would basically eliminate food going to millions of people, and then in exchange their particular interest groups are benefiting, whether it's like the shippers or the on the farm side. The farm side, I want to give them credit. They've definitely some farmer groups have not fought for this in recent years or not has been involved. They kind of recognize that it also undercuts some of the local farmers in some of these developing countries, and so they've kind of, to their credit, haven't been pushing for it as much. The shipping industry, on the other hand, has for sure, and it's been a weird topic for me because a lot of the offices are typically very friendly to the Borgen Project and the global poverty and doing great work. Also call it the coastal cities, right? Like your New Jersey, New York, Seattle, basically places that have ports, big ports in them. They hear a lot from the shipping side and some like the longshoremen and some of those type people that have interest in keeping this system the way it's been. So we'll be again meetings were like an office we've always had great relationship with. We just get like these really, but yeah, you guys get that this is costing millions of people's lives by keeping it on your ships, and they're like, well, we just can't change the system too fast, and yeah, we get it. And sometimes you just feel bad for the staff that are involved in this because they kind of have to go along with what their leaders pushing, but then they are very brilliant on these issues and know for sure that's not a good not a good system. So long story short, there's definitely a special interest. Our takeaway is the purpose of the funding is to help as many people who are starving as possible, and that's what we fight for. The other side would say, well, if we can help domestically too, help the farmers, help the shippers, then that's a good thing. I disagree with that strongly. I get the sentiment, but it goes back to you want a government who puts money into various accounts to accomplish specific things at the best price point that has the biggest impact for taxpayers. And this is a no-brainer to me. You can help millions of more people by purchasing it closer to the source where the need is, as opposed to of the exact same price point, helping less people. It just, yeah, it's aggravating. All of us at the Borgen Project and our board members, people who worked on this, it's very frustrating because it's just, you want taxes to be used as most effectively, and then you also want to help as many people as possible. And this one is just purely helping special interest at the expense of those that are
Yeah.
starving.
Yeah, that's how it sounds like to me, who's not that much, involved in those situations. Is like you're putting all this money, like just the shipping. Like when you think of it, just to ship something for me from US to Poland, I'm
Right,
like, I'm not doing that. Mom, I'm just gonna give it to you once I'm there, just gonna put it in my suitcase. So the costs of it, all together to ship it there, it just, can you put like all these costs to just like purchase the food? More people gonna, closer right to the source, more people gonna be fed, like, and helped. Isn't that the
right.
purpose? It just doesn't make any sense. And on top of that, I heard that in 2022 one of the shipments, like, it got infected with bugs and the food
Yeah.
went to waste.
And that's another issue with the shipping approach, because a lot of times they'll get caught up in ports, or there'll be issue with the shipping in general, like just what happens with shipping stuff. And yeah, when you're shipping perishable food, that case you're referencing, I think happened in Haiti, if I remember correctly. But
Hmm.
yeah, it's an issue. So get it closer to the source, help more people. That makes a ton of
Yeah, don't
sense.
make their life harder. Also, they don't have the facility to store this food. This
That's
is,
another good point. Yep.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So,
And the analogy sometimes used is, if you have a family member who is, say, starving in, I don't know, Europe somewhere, and they're like, I need help immediately. Can you send food? You'd be like, okay, I'm going to go. You wouldn't do this. You wouldn't be like, I'm going to put a bunch of food in a box. I'm going to take it, have it shipped over to you on a giant boat. You would be like, you'd probably wire funding over, or do something that would get it much quicker.
correct.
So
Yeah.